Realtors been struggling the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you about real estate right now in the last couple of years and where it's trending is richer and older. The average homeowner has 44 times the net worth of the average renter.
2010 was literally the worst time to be a realtor.
It was.
A lot of 25-year-olds don't realize this. Money's not that hard to find today.
Yeah, good money's going to be looking for rates of return.
Yeah, looking for opportunity.
So guess what?
Today, I have got the guy who owns the largest real estate training company in the world for realtors. They have trained over 3 million realtors. He's also a real estate investor himself, been in the business for over 29 years. I've got Ryan Buffini.
Hey, great to be with you.
Hey, I'm happy to have you here because, you've been in the game a really long time. And so I love to hear how it happened and then what you see happening. What's the future look like?
Right.
Present day. Realtors been struggling the last 2 years.
Yeah. Interesting. I started in real estate 39 years ago and I'm 29 years in coaching.
Got it.
In the coaching business. And so I love it. Been around it, buying, fixing, selling. Last year, there were more records set in real estate than ever before. But very interesting records. And from a statistical standpoint, what I'll tell you about real estate right now in the last couple of years and where it's trending is richer and older.
It's not good for young people.
Not good for young people. And it's kind of bugs me a bit. The average first-time buyer last year was 38 years old.
Wow.
Okay.
First time
Not
buyer. Even just buyer.
Right. And household formation starts at 26. So people are like, okay, 26. So between 26 and 38, there's 78 million people in America alone. So I'm okay. I'm out on my own. I'm renting a place. I'm done living with mom and dad. And I got to wait 12 years to buy a home. So people are putting off getting married. People are putting off having kids. Not a cool deal. So I'm starting to come to shows like yours to try to help people figure out how to get in the game.
Yeah. Why aren't people getting in the game? Do you think that they just can't afford it or fear? What do you think's the main problem?
Well, I live in San Diego, California.
Yeah.
The average sales price is $900,000.
Yep.
Okay. So, back in my day, I bought my first home for $240,000. Now, it was everything I could get to get 20 grand together to get in the game. And 20 grand was hard back in 1987. But what's harder is 400 grand or 300 grand.
Yeah.
56% of all millennials who bought a home last year got help with the down payment.
Wow.
So if I came to America with $92 in my wallet, my dad's a painter. I wasn't going to get help with the down payment. I wasn't going to be one of that 56%. So my passion is helping the folks who get the help, but also the folks that can't afford it, that they can do it. They can get in the game. You have to get in the game, but you got to really want it. You got to value it. You got to be willing to make some sacrifices to do it. But if you do it, it'll change your life. The average homeowner has 44 times the net worth of the average renter.
Wow.
So we want to get people in the owning game.
So, people are waiting to get married. They're waiting to buy homes.
Yeah.
Obviously, homes are more expensive. All these factors are contributing to less transactions happening.
Yep.
They're contributing to people not building wealth. And then just technically too, if you're paying the rent, you're building somebody else's wealth.
Yep.
So it's kind of a crazy thing right now.
I used to, when I was actually selling real estate, I used to have a postcard mailing system. I'd mail into apartment buildings and it would just have a headline says, "Your landlord says hi and thanks again for paying his mortgage." I get a lot of phone calls on that one.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love putting the keys in the hands of someone who thought I'd never own a home. And so I love what you're doing. I'm watching from afar. I'm excited to see you helping people get in the game and understand owning wealth is the number one way to own wealth in the world and the history of mankind is real estate. And 80% of millionaires, they're millionaires because of real estate.
Yep.
And so there's ways to do it. And I know, I have 6 kids from 32 down to 23. So, and our house is the hub where all our buddies hang out and so on and so forth. And so I watch the kids and I hear and I hang out and chat with them. And they're like, hey, okay, so what I'm going to do is we're doing some sports betting. That all sports betting in 2024 accounted for twice the size of all stock market investing for people under the age of 35.
Whoa.
Because I don't think I'm going to get ahead. How am I going to get that kind of a down payment? I'm not able to save that much, don't have wealthy parents. So guess what? The Cowboys are given 6.
Yeah, I got to gamble.
Got to gamble and they take the riskier investments, shall we say.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is I've seen that too. So I'm 35 and we'll get a lot of younger people in our programs and different things who kind of are out of that mindset. But when I look at like the normal everyday person, you're right. They're all looking for sports betting, especially men.
Yep.
They're all looking at, crypto. They're like, yo, I need to find the next meme coin. I got to find, Bitcoin's going through. It's like they're looking at things that don't require them to actually be the producer or have any type of skill or anything. It's like they're reliant, hopefully, on something else.
Yeah. You're here in Vegas.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things to do when I come here for conferences.
Yeah.
I like to say I'm the only guy in history that's every time he comes to Vegas, comes home richer than when he left, because I don't gamble. I come here to do events.
Yep.
I do a couple of big conferences a year and I come home.
Yep.
But if you're ever on a plane flight home from Vegas, you hear all the people who talk about their winnings. And I go into the casino and go, that cost $1 billion and they're building a new one over here for $6 billion. Somebody's paying for those things.
Yeah.
And so the dynamic is, okay, I took the risk. I got the dopamine hit. I did whatever. The bottom line is, you got to be willing to pay the price. And most people, everybody wants to get to heaven. No one wants to die to get there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no success without sacrifice.
Yeah.
You're working hard.
Mm-hmm.
You got a great team. Got a tour of your facilities here. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But you're beating the bushes and getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks you're just, okay.
Just chilling.
Just chilling, baseballing, hanging out, got the lovely wife and things are good and people are sending me checks. The only place success comes before work is in a dictionary. So there is a way to do it.
I've never heard that one. That's a good one.
there is a way to do it.
Yeah.
There is a way to get it done. There is the side hustle. There is I have a guy came to me, he was 22 years of age. He was an immigrant from Serbia. And he was a contractor. And I gave him a start and gave him a few jobs and whatever else. He said, what should I do? I said, well, every time you get a side job, save every dime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And again, people aren't going to want to hear part of this story because it took him 10 years. But he worked, other than Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter, he worked every Saturday, every year. Okay? So 49 Saturdays a year.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he worked a Saturday, he saved that money.
Mm-hmm.
He invested that money. He put it in like a QQQ, S&P 500. And then he's a contractor. He's able to do it. 10 years in, buys a fourplex. Fixes it up. 2 years later, sells the fourplex, just turned it into 8 units on the ocean in California.
Mm.
Now, again, everybody wants to get to heaven. No one wants to die to get there.
Yeah.
But, so if you have a side hustle, are you willing to spend a little, oh no, but I'm going out with my girlfriends this weekend and it's $200 every weekend and so on and so forth. Okay, I don't want to be the killjoy, but could it be 100?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like Father Time talking, but here's what I can tell you. A penny saved is a penny earned. Real estate changed my whole life. I came to America with $92 in my wallet. I was 19 years old and I got in a terrible car wreck. I was on a motorcycle.
Mm.
I owed $252,000 as a 19-year-old.
How?
7,000 miles away from home. Now you're talking about 1986.
Wow.
I don't know what 252 grand is worth today in today's money.
How did you owe that money though?
Medical bills.
Wow.
I had no insurance.
Wow.
I had 13 surgeries.
That's crazy.
I was in a bad shape. And what did I do during that period of time? I went to the real estate business. Why? Because if you could fog a mirror, they take you in the door.
Yeah.
And I built my business and I built my relationships and I got a lot of referrals. And that's kind of what our business is today, teaching that stuff. But I also did this. The reason I built a fortune is while I was selling homes and while I was helping people and building my referral business, I bought the products that I sold.
Mm.
And I started buying and fixing and selling houses. I'm a 5th generation house painter.
Yeah.
So I started buying and fixing up homes and selling them while I became a very successful realtor.
Yeah.
And so over time, that's how I did it. I did those two things and bought, fixed, sold, 1031 exchanges all the way from duplexes and apartment buildings to hotels to 15,000 storage units in Texas. So all the different gamut of buying and selling real estate. So I sold real estate and then I was also in the game to go buy real estate.
Why do you think that most realtors don't do that? Like I see so many realtors do well. I mean, they're making, multiple 6 figures. They don't own any real estate. And just like, what are you doing?
It's a mistake. It's a mistake. I mean, insider trading is illegal on the stock market. you actually have an opportunity to ethically do insider trading in real estate, which is what I mean by that is you can be the first one to find a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you got to be ethical and upfront. Hey, here's what this thing is worth and so on and so forth. But many times in my own life, I'd have somebody and I'd meet them and say, okay, they got a real fixer-upper property.
Yeah.
They don't have the money to fix it up. They don't have the time to fix it up.
Yeah.
And what I would do then, like to be completely ethical, I'd go, let's get an appraiser in here. Okay, so I want to be right. And so, okay, what's this actually worth? And I'd buy the property from them.
Yeah.
Fix it up. And then what I like to do was buy, fix, and hold.
Mm-hmm.
Buy, fix, and hold. Because buy, fix, and sell is what I had to do early on.
Yep.
Because I needed the capital for the next one. But ultimately, buy, fix, and hold is that's a nice strategy.
Yeah. It's funny because when a lot of realtors come into our program, I mean, we're teaching them how to flip, how to wholesale and do those things. And I always tell them, I'm like, dude, we're going after sellers too. I mean, we're not doing anything different,
right?
But you're just only thinking of a listing,
right?
Like for us anyways, that's the last resort,
right?
We want to buy the thing.
Yeah.
And it's just a different mindset. And they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like,
one of the downsides for realtors in the investment game is that all of their streams of revenue are in the one space.
Yeah.
So when the real estate market goes down, the revenue gets cut off.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're over levered in the real estate holdings.
Mm-hmm.
So now their income gets cut off and their value's gone down.
Right.
So now they got two problems.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the challenges for realtors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, too, even for a guy like me, it's still the same challenge where, you know, early on, I was making all my money from flipping and wholesaling. And, you know, it's not that different than being a realtor. It's active income, whatever else.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it's like, all right, you take your active income, you start buying rentals, you start investing in other things. And, you know, it served me well. But yeah, just for whatever reason, realtors really have a tough time thinking of themselves as the buyer.
Yeah.
In any and every situation. Yeah. I'm just like, dude, why didn't you buy that property?
Right.
Like I'll get realtors who send me deals that make me a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've bought houses. Why didn't you just buy it yourself? Right. And they're like, oh, well, you know.
Yeah. Well, you get caught up in that this is my job.
Yeah.
You get caught up in it. You know, I'm making commissions. I'm a commission salesperson. You know, I've trained more realtors than anyone in the history of the world.
3 million.
Here's the challenge. Most of them do not consider themselves business people.
What do they consider themselves?
most people consider themselves having a sales job. You know, very few. You know, it's interesting. Like Ryan, people your age and younger often come out of college now going, I'm going to get into real estate. But for my generation, real estate was the business of last resort. You follow? Oh, I got fired. I got canned. My husband left me and I've got 2 kids and I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
So real estate was Lady Liberty. It was easy to get into. And unfortunately, too optional while you were doing it. So it was easy to get into. It's not hard to take the test. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And now what happened is people had a job, and now they have a real estate sales job.
Yeah.
Well, you know, as a businessman, there's a difference in between having a job and owning a business.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have a real estate job and not a business mindset. It's one of the things we coach people on. We're trying to help them be business people.
Yeah. I've always thought about it, too, for realtors and why they have such a tough time. And you know, I got my real estate license in 2010. So, you know, I was licensed for 8 years before finally I just was like, all right, I don't need this anymore. I'm just flipping and doing all that. But it's interesting because that was how I got it. I'm like, oh, well, what's the easiest thing I could do on the side, essentially? I'll get a real estate license. Well, 2010 was literally the worst time to be a realtor.
It was.
And I tell people this all the time. They're like, dude, it's so hard right now with rates. I'm like, bro, no, it's not. Okay.
Yeah.
If you were licensed 15 years ago in 2010, imagine being in Las Vegas.
Jeez.
Nobody has any money.
Yeah.
Literally 90+% of homes were foreclosures.
Yeah.
The average price was $100,000 and nobody can qualify for homes. Mm-hmm. Who do you sell to? You can't get a listing because they're all foreclosures. Right. And so like 2 people have them all.
Yeah.
And then you can't get buyers because no one has money or credit. And if you are lucky enough to sell one, you get $3,000. Yeah. That's the average commission.
Right.
I was like, I don't know why anyone would want to do this. This sucks.
Yeah. You got to be wired a certain way. Like you got to, right? You got to be wired a certain way to play catcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Be a goalie in soccer and to be a realtor. You got to be wired a certain way.
But then I even look at it today and I'm like, yeah, the last 2 years were way harder than obviously COVID and everything else. But man, if you sell something, you make a nice payday.
Well, look, 85% of the entire industry turns over every 5 years.
That's crazy. What churn?
So imagine, now that's the business I've been coaching and training for almost 30 years.
You got to constantly
Right.
get new people.
Well, or make the ones I have successful.
Right. So they stay in.
They got to be successful or I go
Yeah.
out of business.
Yep.
You know, because if I had a 85% churn rate every 5 years, I might be back painting houses, you know? So you got to make them successful. They can be.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and again, it's the 80-20 rule, Vilfredo Pareto, the Pareto principle, right? You've heard of that.
Yep.
It's the same in everything. And so 20% of the people make 80% of the money. And in real estate, I would say last year, 20% of the people made 90%
Yeah, I was
of
going
the
to say,
money.
I think it's even more extreme.
It is. It is. And so it's the same in investing. Okay. And what are the people who are investing? Who's winning?
Yeah.
And what do those people do? And so again, is it hard to buy a house if you're younger? Yes. Is it harder to start out? Yes, it is. It is harder. It's harder than it was. It truly is. But just because it's harder doesn't mean A, it's impossible. And B, if you'll actually fight through it, when you get on the other side, you're going to be doing a lot better than your peers.
Yeah. So what do you think your realtors did these last 2 years that kind of got them through the storm?
And I'm going to tell you, we have the majority of our people had their best year ever last year. And so what we teach is a relationship-based system.
Yeah.
Build relationships, serve deeply, exceed people's expectations, do a great job, get referrals.
Okay.
Referrals, the highest compliment you can get. The new client comes to you, they already trust you, know you, and like you. So we have a system, a marketing system, a process, and a training system that we give people daily activities on how to go out, serve their database, and generate referrals. And so when things get tough, people want to have someone they trust. And so when the market gets tight, I need someone to trust. When it's free and easy and you get 27 offers on every home,
Yeah.
right?
Those were the days.
And so what happens is that's when so many people jump in. Oh my gosh, this looks great. You know, I when the market's boom and I go, Brian, you know, I love houses and I love people and I decided that I'm going to become a realtor. I'm like, okay, buckle on your chin strap here.
Yeah.
And they're jumping in. There's 27 offers on every house. Well, let's be honest. If you got 27 offers on a house on a weekend, it doesn't take much skill to be able to get a deal put together.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, by the way, we're not giving you any inspections. Fine. We're not doing any improvements. Fine. You got to pay 25 grand over what we're asking. No problem.
Yep.
Well, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Maybe not so good.
Yep.
Maybe not so good.
Boy, it was great flipping houses back then.
Yeah.
They're like, what about due diligence? I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
There is none. What about repair request? You better buy it as is.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
Because I got 20 more behind you.
yep.
Yeah.
What are you paying on a buyer's agent commission? Pretty much nothing.
Right. Because the buyer's emotion is when 20 other people want it, I want it more. When the market gets tight, they walk through a perfect house.
Yeah.
The same house. It's less price and better condition. Able to get concessions. This thing's on the market 40 days.
Yeah. What's wrong with
What's wrong with it? What's wrong? Why did no one else buy it?
Why are people like that?
Because you know why? Because people are guided by fear
Yeah.
more than they are by the opportunity you gain.
Yeah.
More people are guided by loss than they are by the opportunity to be successful.
Yeah. Can I tell you about the day I knew I wasn't going to make it as a realtor?
Yeah.
So this is in 2010. I'm licensed and I told everyone what's going on in the market back then. So I've always been a hustler and been good at finding deals and selling and all that. So I find this house here in Las Vegas. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet, literally built 3 years prior, 2008 build. Okay, this house sold for like $350 back in 2008. It's listed at $90,000 and it's like never been lived in. Okay, it's like basically brand new. I'm like showing it to the buyer and this guy's like the only buyer I got. And I'm like, dude, this is like a really good deal. He's like, do you think we could offer less? And I'm like, dude, let's just make anything. I don't care. Like, let's just make an offer. There's nobody has an offer on it right now. And he's like, okay, let's offer 70 grand. I'm like, perfect. So I write this offer up for 70 grand. Back then, there was no DocuSign. So we faxed. we did all this stuff.
You're showing your age, Ryan.
I know. And I'm 35 and I can't believe that's how I started too.
Yeah.
So I do all this stuff, right? And I fax it to him and I get home. I'm so excited. I'm like, dude, like I'm going to make a commission. This is great. $2,000. And, I'm just thinking, I'm like, wow, what a good deal this guy's getting. I wish I could be the one buying this, right? Well, I sent him the offer. I'm like, dude, like, did you take a look? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, honestly, I think I'm gonna have to pass on it. And I was like, why? He's like, dude, I just think the market's still going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, is the house going to be free?
Right.
I don't understand what the house, it's brand new.
Yeah.
How could it go down?
Right.
And he's like, you just don't get it yet. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're young.
Right.
I was 21.
Yeah. You were smarter than him.
And I was like, all right, I'm done representing people. Yeah. I want to represent myself and take advantage of all these opportunities.
Well, after 39 years around this deal, I'll tell you one thing.
Okay.
I've never met anybody who said, I'm glad I waited.
Yeah. I've yet to see it. Even in today's market, you missed out on the rates 2 years ago.
Well, no, it's this. So now people are going, okay, rates are up. Fed's done this. The market's doing that. I'm going to hold off on buying until the rates come down.
Then the prices are going to go up.
So it's like, hey, you can buy and refi.
Yep.
Okay, you can figure it out. But, here's what you do here. When you're in the real estate business, as you are, you go to a party, people figure it out pretty quick. Oh, what's going on with the market? What's happening, right?
Yep.
So when you're an undertaker, people don't ask you those questions. Oh, how's embalming fluid? No, people don't talk about that. You're in real estate? They want to know. And you always hear this story. 20 years ago, see that property right there? I could have had that property for $18 and a ham sandwich. It's like whatever the number was.
Yep.
And you know what that property's worth today? Well, the world is full of those stories.
Yep.
And so, the key component with people, I'll say this, whatever this is worth. The one dynamic with owning real estate is, the market's only been a certain way. For the last 11 years, we've had prices go up.
Yep.
For the last 14 years, we've had a housing shortage. I'm 39 years in the business, and I've studied the last 100 years of it. It doesn't always go up. It doesn't always stay up. The one thing you got to do when you're a real estate investor is make sure you're wise enough to completely over-lever, because that's when people get hammered.
Yeah.
Now, I've never been hammered in real estate, and I've gone through 4 major recessions, 4 of them. And so the key component is you got to be wise enough to know, okay, great, I'm in this space. I've got this property. I've built up the equity. Now, the typical thing is I take the equity to go get the next one. You can, but you got to make sure you stay in the range.
Yeah.
You got to leave some equity in there and then work your butt off to get the next piece of cash. Because once you start rolling, once you get it going, it starts to roll downhill. Real estate rolls downhill.
Yeah.
You get more appreciation. So you get appreciation first, cash flow second. Now, if you buy cash flow, great. But don't expect a lot of appreciation. The people who want both are the people who struggle.
That doesn't exist.
Right? So it's like, okay, if I want cash flow, I'm buying properties in Indiana and Arkansas, and I buy red state real estate.
What do you like, cash flow or appreciation better? What do you buy for?
So let me say this. If I'm 30 years old, I would recommend people only buy for appreciation.
Yeah. That's what I only buy appreciation.
I'm 57.
Young. Yeah.
I only buy cash flow.
Okay. Interesting. But are you buying cash? Or are you still getting loans? What do you do?
Depends.
Okay.
I have, I have one property. And just so you know, Dave Ramsey's a good friend of mine. And Dave,
I just released my episode with him.
Great.
Yep.
Well, he's a good friend of mine and I love him. We have small differences on some things. So an example would be, and I was a spokesman. One of our biggest sponsors was one of the largest banks in America for 14 years. So I got some pretty good deals with them. So whatever the rate was, I was doing better.
Yeah.
So I took out a loan on a piece of real estate for 1.75 fixed.
Okay. That's crazy.
Great.
At first you were saying 1.75 million. Then I realized that was the interest rate.
No. The loan was far bigger than 1.75 million.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with it at the time. I was looking around, but I took that money and I put it into T-bills. The T-bills that paid off 5.25%.
Yeah.
So I have millions of dollars at 5.25%. I'm paying the bank 1.75 and taking a little tax deduction on it.
Yeah.
That's when you're wise about debt.
Yeah.
And I'm not maxing up to so I own a lot of people real estate free and clear, but I also have real estate that's indebted where it needs to be. When I was first going, I was doing things like this. I didn't have a lot of money. So I was buying properties and then getting the owners to do a second trust deed.
Yep.
And then I'd come back to them in a year and say, hey, you got a 5-year term. Do you want to discount that trust deed?
Yep.
So I would often discount the trust deed 20, 25%, cash them out. Boom. Now I'm at 20%.
Yeah.
On to the next one. Hey, do you want to do a carry back? Do you want to, do you have an assumable loan? A lot of loans are assumable that, it's not disclosed today. So a lot of deals that are out there today, what the lenders don't disclose it and the owner doesn't know it.
Yeah. The lenders don't want those loans.
Of course
they
not.
want them out.
But a lot of loans are assumable today that
Just
are
so
not
people
disclosed.
know which loans are assumable for those who don't know. What kinds?
Here it does have speculation in regards to this. It depends on what the underwriting standard was. Is it a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan? Is it a HUD approved loan? Those kinds of things. So a lot of FHA, VA loans, you can assume them.
Yep.
So you got to go in, and one of the things you do in a negotiation is say, is there a loan on the property? Is it assumable? Now, what I would do is I always tie up a property. You know, if I get a chance, I tie up a property, but then I dive in to see, okay, hey, they got a 4.5 on this, and I'd go and apply. And now sometimes I would even give a seller concession or so on and so forth because it takes a little longer to get the assumption.
Yep.
But if I find that, hey, you know, I call, I direct, I got to extend escrow another 30 days.
Yeah.
Well, take a look. I'm going to buy it 7.25 or 4.25. Okay, seller, I'm going to throw you a few extra grand here.
Yeah.
Can you hang on 30 days? Now I've assumed a 4.25 loan and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I've got cheap money. Now I'm winning.
Yeah. I never really see assumptions happen too much on single family, even though it can.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of subject to,
Yeah.
where we don't have to assume.
Sure.
But I do see it happen on the commercial side.
Yeah.
A lot more often.
Yeah. Investment side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second thing is people don't even know about second trust deeds.
Yeah.
You know, so, okay, I'm going to get a loan. Here's the deal. There's, you know, I need 30 grand extra or 50 grand extra. Let's do a second trust deed. Let's do it at, you know, 5% interest over 5 years. You know, maybe they ask for 6.
Yeah.
And so in the door you go, and then show that you're a proven commodity after a year and say, hey, I've come into some money. You know, just send them, hey, would you be willing to discount that note? I can get you all your cash today.
Yeah.
90% of people do that.
I was talking to a guy. He has a house in the country club I'm a part of, and I won't say all the details of it, but he has this loan on it it's interest only right now. He's got it's $2.5 million, and the interest only is like $4,500 a month. And I'm just like licking my chops, and I'm like, okay, so how much do you want down?
Right.
And you know, there's a big gap between that loan and what he wants down.
Right.
But that's kind of where I'm at with him. It's like, all right, well, how much are you going to carry?
Yeah.
You know?
Here's the thing. Think about it. Like I said at the beginning, a lot of statistics in. You know, the average buyer last year was 59 and the average seller was 63.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's really crazy.
When I got in the real estate business, the average seller was 40s.
Whoa.
Okay. So older and richer. Well, what are older people looking for? You asked me appreciation or cash flow. If I'm sitting in your spot, it's all appreciation, baby. I'm trying to build up my net worth.
Yeah.
I've done pretty good. So now I'm turning it all into cash flow, and I don't have a lot of time, so I want cash flow instruments. If I'm 63 years of age, I'm looking for, can I get fixed income? How about I get fixed income on a property I used to own?
Yeah.
That it's secured by real estate. If you don't pay it, I'm going to own back the property that I used to own.
Yeah.
Pretty secure investment, and I'm going to get guaranteed fixed income.
Yep.
And you come along and you say, hey, I'll give you 6%.
So you're seller financing a lot of your stuff.
No, I did. I don't do that anymore. I mean, I'm at this a long time, so compounding's happened, and I only buy cash today.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's funny because Dave, when I was interviewing Dave a couple of weeks ago, he's like, yeah, I mean, I own $700 million of real estate free and clear.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Here's and it's brilliant, and he's the real deal, and he's not exaggerating. Here's the thing. How does that encourage a 25-year-old?
Right.
Or a 30-year-old or a 32-year-old? So for me, I would say this. I am not nervous about debt if people are willing to sacrifice for it. You remember when you got into real estate in 2010 and the market was upside down and everybody was foreclosed on?
Yep.
How did that happen? What went on is that people got 0%, 100% financing on properties. They had no skin in the game, Ryan.
Yeah.
So when the market went down a little bit, they just walked away from the properties.
Yeah, they had nothing to lose.
So they had nothing to lose. So they went away. And then people who actually put money down lost theirs because the market fell so much. So it started with the 100% loans. They had no skin in the game. So I believe this. If a young person wants to get in the game to buy a piece of real estate, what are you willing to do? You know, what are you prepared to do? Do you ever see the movie Untouchables?
No.
That's Sean Connery. Great movie. Elliot
I've
Ness.
heard of it.
Yeah, great. And he used to have this line, what are you prepared to do? Right? He's dealing with Al Capone. They put one of yours in the hospital, you got to put him in the morgue. What are you prepared to do? Well, when someone comes to me, and I mentor a lot of younger people, and they ask me about buying real estate, I ask them, what are you prepared to do? Are you prepared to get a little side hustle?
Yeah.
Are you prepared to cut back? Okay, so great. I love snow skiing. I go to Mammoth Man. I go for 10 days. Great. Can you go for 3?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? And here's what's honest. A lot of people say no. No. And those are the folks who end up going to go on Bitcoin. And those are the folks who are going to end up trying to get the game on, betting on the Cowboys.
Yep.
You have to be willing to sacrifice something. And if you do, real estate is hard at the beginning and easy at the end. Hard at the beginning, easy at the end. And if you'll do what's hard, your life will be easy. And if you do what's easy, your life will be hard.
Either way, you're going to have to deal with hard and easy. It's just what order.
Pay the price up front. Pay the price up front when you're young and full of juice and have energy and get after it.
Yeah.
And the dynamic is this. The greatest gift in the world for an investor is time.
Yeah.
Because if you make a mistake, if you hold it long enough, it's not a mistake. People have bought bad real estate, overpriced.
I've bought flips that went bad. I couldn't sell, and I was forced to hold them.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, they ended up, I'm like, looking like a genius.
They made you
Great
more money than anything else.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah.
You just got to be strong enough to hold.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. I mean, I love it. I love real estate. I love putting deals together. I'm a house painter by nature, so fixing up properties. When I was, probably 28, I was doing 3 a month.
Yeah.
While selling homes. And it's the greatest thing in the world. And it's been the making of me.
Yeah.
And so I'm really just encouraging. Like the reason I'm here on your show today, I just really want to encourage people to get in the real estate game, buy real estate, fight, bite, scratch, and claw to get your first one.
Yeah.
Fight, bite, scratch, and claw to get your next investment. I mean, the simplest game is like my son. He's 26 years old. He and his 2 best friends from high school, all basketball players, we helped them buy a fixer-upper in San Diego.
Yeah.
And I have crews that do stuff, whatever. So they got them the remodel, whatever else. I helped them with the second. You follow? That's the part I helped them with. You
were their gap funder.
Great. I helped them do the remodel, whatever. They bought for 6. It just appraised for 9. They put a renter in there. Great. 2 years from now.
They'll refi you out.
Great. Tax deferred exchange if you want.
Yep.
Let's go get the next one. And they're up and running. And they're fired up and they're game to get the next one.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, so these, a lot of 25-year-olds don't realize this. Dude, there's plenty of guys like you who got money, who will fund their second position, partner up with them, whether it's a profit split, interest, whatever the case is. Like, money's not that hard to find today.
Yeah, right. And because people don't, and as the interest rates do come down, good money's going to be looking for rates of return.
Yeah, looking for opportunity.
So guess what? So this is where I'd say we all want to, where Dave Ramsey's talking about, that's where you should want to get everybody.
Yeah.
All free and clear, all cash flow, all the, here's a great
He didn't
principle.
have all that when he was 30.
No, he didn't. No,
right.
he didn't.
And people are looking at it today at 30.
Yeah.
And I tell these 30-year-olds this too. So they're my peers. And they're like, dude, I want to get cash flow so I can be financially free and all this stuff. And I'm like, bro, it ain't going to happen from rentals anytime soon. If you're buying with debt, I don't care where you're buying, you ain't going to be financially free anytime soon from this. Like, and already the mindset of trying to be financially free early and retire and all this, you got no chance.
That is the one thing. And again, there's a lot of grinding goes on and back in my day stuff and so on and so forth. I find a lot of great characteristics with the younger generation, the people my kids are hanging out with and so on and so forth. They like balance. They like, they've got a bigger view of the world. They're, some really cool stuff there. The impatience is the challenge, and impatience is the single biggest enemy of wealth. Show me someone impatient, I'll show you somebody who's going to be broke.
Yeah.
Period. And so wealth, Albert Einstein was a pretty smart guy, right?
Yep.
He said, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it receives it, and he who doesn't pays it. So I see young people who go, I want to make my money in real estate. And the first thing I ask them is, how much do you have on credit cards? The average credit card today is 28.5%.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I know your story. You use some credit cards to get your ball rolling and whatever else. Fine. But the dynamic is this. If someone's doing credit card debt at 28.5% and they think they're going to get the rate of return on a piece of real estate that's greater than 28.5%, that's kind of Colombian drug mules money. You know what I mean? Like, you don't. So you got to find a way to be aggressive and not get caught in the system.
Yeah.
And so, the debt that compounds against you, the rule of 72, you've heard of that. You divide an interest rate into 72, it'll tell you how often your money will double. Well, you divide 28 and a half into 72, it means the principal is going to double in 3 years. You invest your money into the S&P 500, get a great rate of return, 8%, it'll take 9 years. Okay, so if your money's in, and that's why Ramsey stuff is brilliant, grind down that credit card. But I like to do this, grind down the credit card and save some money for investment at the same time.
Yeah.
Grind. The first house is the hardest. The first investment in is the hardest. You've heard it, the first million is the hardest. You know that.
Yep.
It is. It is. But then if you're wise and you have time on your hands, you let it compound, make a fortune.
Well, and I'll even say this too, right? People who have credit card debt today usually didn't use it for anything that was going to build their skill or their life or an investment. It was just spending, right? Most credit card debt right now is just from spending, like frivolously. And so even for me, when I maxed out my credit cards, this was 10 years ago, I didn't have much money, but I went and found 0% credit cards for 12 to 18 months.
Right.
Maxed them out, got 50K.
Yep.
I mean, however you're going to get your 50K, whether it's from, my rich dad,
right, or
whether it's going to be from a credit, you still owe 50K. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm getting it at 0%. I used it, made, $100,000 flipping houses. And then, now I had to start paying interest on it. And the way I looked at it was just like, all right, well, what am I paying per month? Okay, I'm paying 2% a month essentially. And, that's 50K. So 2% on 50K, I'm paying, whatever the math is, $1,000. Okay. Well, how much is this going to make me over the next 4 months using it to flip? Okay. Cost me $4,000 in money cost and I make 30. All right. It's another cost of doing, but it was for business.
Yeah.
Right. And even when I'll get people, young guys who are like, dude, like I want to get in the game. How should I do it? I'm like, well, dude, you got to invest in your business. Right. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, bro. Yeah. Like you need to buy leads. You got to go out and hustle. You got to get mentorship. You got to get softwares. Like the business, I don't know of any businesses that cost $0.
Right.
I don't know any $0 businesses, dude.
What are you seeing on the investment side? What are you seeing out there in the marketplace? Is there certain areas of the country that are better deals right now than others?
Most of my students and even myself, we focus on flip and wholesale.
Yeah.
So we're not looking at, 5 years out and projections in that way. Really, we're looking at transaction volume is the best, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's transactions happening, then we can sell deals.
Yeah.
And we're definitely seeing the market pick up now. I'm optimistic that there should be more transaction volume this year. And I know obviously realtors, that's, going to be a good indicator for realtors too. But no, I mean, for us, we see it everywhere, dude. We wholesale nationwide. Vegas is still my primary market. I love Vegas. Vegas was tough in 23 and 24. I think prices dropped about 10%. And then now they're finally back where they were in 22. So yeah, dude, honestly, I took a big hit because I had 50 flips when rates doubled. And it's like, that's never happened in history.
July 2022.
Yeah, dude, that cost me millions of dollars. And I'm just like, all right, well, the gravy train is over.
Right.
It's time to go make that money back and just move on.
Yeah. But you don't lose money if you don't sell.
Yeah,
if you're in a position to hold, no one ever lost a dime if they didn't sell.
Yeah, the only risk though with flipping is that, especially in a place like Vegas, there's no cash flow.
Right.
So even buying a good deal, you're still break even at best.
Yeah.
And taking on a bunch of debt.
That's what I say. Can you be strong enough to withhold?
Yeah.
So people might not do it on your scale.
Yeah.
So let's say most people are probably not doing it on your scale.
Yeah.
But let's say they're doing one or two and here, okay. And if they have a side hustle or whatever else, can you keep the spaghetti keep coming in the door?
Can you withstand the storm?
And then hold it.
Yeah.
And then hold it like a dog on a pork chop.
Yep.
Because if you hold it long enough, you grind it up. You're going to appreciate it. You're going to pay it down. Real estate is a fantastic investment if you hold it, if you can. Now, again, I know the flip and wholesale, and I think the wholesale dynamic is great. In fact, I have another son who just got married, and I normally like to be the guy that buys and turns it myself. But we bought from an agent in our coaching program who bought, he flipped it. He did it about 90%.
Yep.
He left a little meat on the bones there for me to still fix. But I couldn't argue with him. Like in all my resources of people and relationship, I said, I can't argue it. He's got a great house. He's done a pretty good job. I'm going to pay him his money.
Yep.
And, I tipped the cap to him. I said, well done. So I do find a lot of value in the flip and wholesale. I think it's a great model.
Yeah.
But the key is to make sure do you have other sources of revenue that can help you hang in there when things get a little tough?
Yep. And for you, obviously, your other source of revenue, and now your main source, is the coaching business.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about what that's been like as a business owner, right? You go from agent doing well.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, dude, how are you doing it? So I assume that's how you started coaching.
Yep.
And now it's 29 years later. You're still in the game, having coached this many people. I've only been coaching we started the business 7 years ago, but technically like serious about it 5 years.
Yeah.
There's not many guys that have made it 30 years.
Yeah.
So what's been the experience running a coaching business?
Well, you're going to start having this experience more and more and more every day. You've probably already seen some people have some tremendous success.
Yeah.
You've probably seen people who've changed their whole status in life.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's come along and they had a lot of ambition. They had a lot of a drive. They needed your know-how. And they come back to you and they go, Ryan, you and your company changed my life. Well, at the compounding effect of everything, like goodwill compounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to find yourself within a number of years here surrounded by an avalanche of that.
Mm.
You're going to have an avalanche of people who said, I took your course, I took your training, I've gotten the help, I bought this house, I've made this much money, I've done great. I was waiting tables, I was doing this, I was a contractor and it hurt me back. And I started doing, fill in the blank. I'm sure you have a bunch of these stories. You're going to get more and more of these stories. Well, I don't know about you, but that's pretty much catnip to me.
Yeah.
So I would say beyond even as much as I love real estate and closing a deal and the smell of paint and concrete and new tile, a transformed life is pretty attractive thing.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, that is still what drives me after 29 years, and I would say the older I get, I've made a good living and, my family's set and my grandkids are set. So at this stage of the game, having a chance to impact and improve somebody's life and then having a business that is profitable, because I don't believe I have the right to teach anybody how to be profitable without being profitable. Our company's been profitable 28 out of 29 years, 4 recessions. But I would say if I'm broke, don't be listening to me. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a guy named Harvey McKay. He used to say, beware the bare-chested man who offers you his shirt. Right? And there's a lot of people out there, like you're a practitioner.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there giving advice online and whatever that don't practice at all, who are giving advice. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You're actually doing it. So I think as you grow and you become more and more successful and you start getting into those certain net worth, you can be a broke billionaire.
Explain that.
Well, you can be rich in bank account and poor in heart and soul.
Yep.
And now I'm not buying into the, money's the root of all evil, harder for a rich man to get to heaven. Not that stuff. That's just bad Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
But you can miss out. You can make so much money, you miss out on the actual good stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't want to sound like I'm 90 years of age here, but what I've found is, impacting somebody's life, doing it, changing their life, that's pretty powerful stuff. And that's more of a legacy than, I left $100 million to this charity and this foundation or that church.
Yeah.
And sure, we've got the stuff set up for the churches and the ministries and all those types of people, and my kids are set and all that. But changing somebody's life, that's a pretty powerful thing. And if you can do it well, if you can change somebody's life and make money at it, now you're cooking with peanut oil.
It don't get any better than that.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But over a cascading effect. So you have the compounding effect of investment, the compounding effect of real estate, you have the compounding effect of goodwill in people's minds and hearts. So yeah, and so that is what's allowed me to fight through the tough times. Okay. I had a business. We were the largest coaching company of any type in the world at one stage.
Oh, wow. How many people did you have?
We had 450 staff. We had just gazillions of people everywhere. I had a 100,000 square foot facility in Carlsbad, looking over the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah. Add the numbers. And along came the largest real estate recession in the history of mankind, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I had to lay off 47 people on my birthday.
Wow.
And I went from 420 people down to 112.
Wow.
I sold
So like 75% got laid off.
Yeah, I sold probably $40 million worth of real estate to keep the company going.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not really an entrepreneur until you've had to write a personal check to make payroll.
Yep.
And so I was writing $1 million checks every month to keep. I used to do it with my assistant. She used to it was kind of, I had to have a little fun with it. She'd never seen $1 million check in her life. And I go, take that down to accounting. And then next month, take that down to accounting.
Yeah.
I did that for a long time.
Wow.
And that real estate today would be worth, I don't know, 120 million.
Yeah.
But
you had to do it to keep
I don't regret it. The business is valuable.
Yep.
It was my primary source of revenue. Your revenue is everything. And then lastly, it allowed me to continue doing what I'm doing. So, you know, you got to have, okay, I have the business drive, I have the economic drive, but is there something else behind it? You know, you folks listening here today, why do you want to be successful in real estate? My mentor is a guy named Jim Rohn.
Yep.
And he said to me, you need to become a millionaire for what it will make of you. Now, I was 23 years old when he told me that. And what I thought, I was a poor immigrant. And I'm like, become a millionaire for what it'll make me. Well, it'll make me richer. That'd be good. I didn't know till decades later what he meant. It's that who it makes you as a man, who it makes you as a person. And so, you know, you start becoming this person. Like if I lost everything tomorrow, if something happened and, you know, fires in California, I lost my home in a fire in 2007. But if everything went to pot and you lost your business, if I started from scratch today at 57 years of age and I came to Vegas and I knew nobody and knew nothing, and I mean this in no hubris way at all, I'd be a millionaire within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because it's in me.
Yeah. You don't lose the skill.
No. And the mindset.
Yeah.
And as long, you know, so that's the thing. So, you know, you're on your way. I am so excited. I've seen your operation here today and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, I toured around here with my business manager, Bill Hampton. I gave him an elbow and I go, oh, I've seen this before. This reminds me of something 20 years ago. And I know you're a good man and you got great principles and you're doing good work. So that's why I'm here today.
Thank you. Thank you.